So my point here is that whether it's in terms of Muslim shirt, the Arabic word for shirt being kurta, whether it's foods, you know, whether it's music, whether it's architecture, there is a huge amount of Muslim influence, which doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it's not eternal Vedic culture. And so at this point, trying to impose upon Germany or trying to convince the German people that if you want to have a strong relationship with God, you need to dress like an Indian and eat like an Indian and make music, make Indian music, otherwise, you know, God won't accept you. Does that sound rational to anybody in this room?
Of course not. So,
the idea of Krishna West is give people a break. I mean, that's the idea. Give the Germans a break. I mean, leave them alone. And just, you know, just give them a spiritual science, give them this wisdom, and just let them be happy, Krishna-conscious Germans. That's the basic idea. I'm sorry, this lady, maybe then back to, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Guten Abend.
Hare Krishna. I want to say that the closest, the original closest from Hare Krishna devotees are so powerful, so spiritual, so religious, so holy, and when there's a temple where everybody wears this clothes, then the atmosphere is so holy and purifying. I find this, and I'm so happy when I see this. And when I saw them the first time, I laughed so much the clothes, and I don't like this German culture. And I mean, I don't know, I cannot speak so good English.
No, I get the message,
yes,
and
I'm so sad when they don't have this clothes.
I appreciate your honesty. I would only say that you have every right in the world to do what makes you happy in Krishna consciousness. But the point is, other people do also. We don't want fashion tyranny. In other words, there are many people in the world, believe me, they write me letters. There are many people in the world who feel more Krishna conscious, more natural, more themselves when they don't wear Indian clothes. And if you like it, so it's about freedom, Freiheit. It's about me not trying to force you to wear clothes that I like, and you not trying to force me to wear clothes that you like. And, you know, people are different. And so, Krishna West, that's the name of our very dangerous deviation. But the idea of Krishna West is not to try to force you to do something you don't want to do. It's simply to say that everyone has a right to be themselves. Oscar Wilde, the English writer, once said, just be yourself because everybody else is already taken. And so, I know for myself, I don't think if I was wearing, you know, an Indian dhoti, which by the way comes from the Ramakrishna mission, that's where Bhaktisiddhanta got it, or a kurta, the dhoti, sannyas dhoti, it comes from the Ramakrishna mission. Bhaktisiddhanta borrowed it from them. I really don't think that I would love Krishna more. I don't think I'd be happier. And so here's another important point. Many devotees have this really bad habit of comparing the greatest things in India with the worst things in the West. So India always wins. Like, you know, compare a nice chaste sari with some, you know, with some woman, you know, doing things maybe she shouldn't do, exposing herself. And so, why not compare? I mean, I'm traveling around Europe now for several months, and frankly, this is not like a totally oversexed, out-of-control region of the world. And it is summer. I mean, people are just going to really go nasty. Now's the time. And what I found traveling all over France and Spain and Italy and now Germany is that there's just mostly there's just nice, decent human beings. And so this caricature, this wild exaggeration, yes, in Europe and in America and in India, there are people who are extremely degraded. For example, a woman is much safer in Germany than she is in India. It's much less likely she'll be raped. I think that's significant. I find that significant. And I also find having a culture where women are not raped all the time Vedic. I call that Vedic. I mean, I see many ways in which Germany is more Vedic than India. And I see, of course, very important ways in which India is more Krishna conscious. The fact that in Germany people actually keep public spaces clean. The fact that, you know, there are social services. There are actually social services, unlike other parts of the world. The fact that there's a certain amount of security, personal security. All those things, if you read, you know, Prabhupada's explanations of the duties of a government in Vedic culture, we'll find that in some, to me, very significant human ways, Germany is much more Vedic than India. Much more. They're not even close. I will also find, when I study Indian history, for example, I cannot find any time in Indian history when a sari or a dhoti were considered in India by Indians to be Vaishnava dress. But again, if because of your personal psychology and your background and just who you are, if that's what works for you, if it makes you happy and it makes you Krishna conscious, then do it. But we can't force other people to do it who don't want to do it. And we also cannot put out a message to the world, or in Germany, that sure, you can join the Hare Krishna movement, you don't have to do all these Indian things, of course you'll be a second-class citizen for the rest of your life, but don't worry about that. After all, the goal is to become humble. So yes, I respect completely your freedom to live in a way that makes you Krishna conscious. And I'm sure you respect the freedom of other people to do the same. Yes, you want to ask a question, then Nitya Siddha, eternamente liberada.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I go along with a lot of the issues you made. But so, what is your advice? What is the core message for the ISKCON or for the Krishna movement in the Western? What is the core, which should be the elements? Because you say maybe not all of the scriptures of the 50 books of Prabhupada are maybe necessary. So what is the core? And what is the branding, and how should we act? And is there a possibility to keep that under the roof of ISKCON in a kind of unity lived by diversity?
Yes, first of all, I am not at all thinking of deleting some of Prabhupada's books. I mean, it would be absurd for me to think that I could do that. Prabhupada's my spiritual master. It's not my duty to delete his books. Secondly, one part of Krishna West, it's my sinister cult, one part of it is to actually encourage people like German devotees to think. You know, it's interesting because Prabhupada declared often when he came to the West that he wanted to recreate a Brahmin class, a thinking class, because modern society was a headless body. And of course, ISKCON is a disembodied head. You know, ISKCON is a head without a body, and society is a body without a head. So, but the point is that even though Prabhupada said he wanted a movement where people think, where they're creative, within reasonable boundaries. I mean, for example, in Germany, you're free within boundaries. Obviously, if you cross certain boundaries, you're a criminal. And you should be. I mean, that's what you really are. but within reasonable boundaries, you're free. That's the kind of movement Prabhupada envisioned. And so, for example, take culture. How should you dress? What I'm proposing is not cultural anarchy. Like, okay, you come in front of the deities wearing some kind of, I don't know, you know, zebra skin male bikini or something. No, that's not the idea. Because actually, sorry for that somewhat graphic image.
What has been seen cannot be unseen.
Good now. So, actually, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna actually gives us a cultural criterion. He doesn't say, offer me Indian things. That's not what Krishna says. What Krishna does say in the Bhagavad Gita, or encourage us to do, is to act in the mode of goodness. So, if I, for example, come to a temple, I should dress myself in a way that's virtuous. That means chaste, decent, clean. See, this idea that Indian ethnic traditions are the only barrier that separate us from anarchy and chaos and utter degradation, and that if we don't all embrace Indian culture, nothing will save us from, you know, the abyss of barbarity, is it's way over dramatic. The point is, Krishna gives us a standard. How should you dress? In the mode of goodness. Clean, decent, chaste, mode of goodness. Food, offer Krishna food that's in the mode of goodness, which of course eliminates a somewhat high percentage of Mahaprasadam in ISKCON around the world. You know, if you just lived on Mahaprasadam, you probably wouldn't live very long. And actually, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that food in the mode of goodness is healthy. So the idea that Krishna wants food in the lower modes of nature, I'm not quite convinced of. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna almost a few dozen times, I mean like over 20, 22, 23 times, Krishna compares things in the three modes of nature to give us the idea so we can do it by ourselves, you know, with everything. And food in the mode of passion is spicy and hot. Sound familiar? Do you know of any spiritual movements that have spicy hot food? So, and food in the mode of goodness, I mean, I once went to a program with some people from that, you know, Indian cooking, and I gave a lecture. The food was so spicy, so hot, I couldn't eat it. I said, just bring me some fruit. So they brought me a fruit salad with chili pepper in it. I swear to Govinda. So, so offer food to Krishna. Prabhupada once said to me, Prabhupada said, eat what you like and it'll be good for you. So, so mode of goodness, it's not cultural anarchy. In fact, what I've seen is that we have placed above philosophy and above objectivity simply cultural chauvinism. I'll give you an example. I saw on YouTube a Rath Yatra in the Western world, somewhere in the Western world, and after the Rath Yatra parade, they had, you know, the festival and a stage program, and they had this Bollywood group come on. And this Bollywood group did sort of like a song and dance, and the only way I can describe it is erotic. It was like explicitly and heavily erotic in terms of, anyway. No one noticed, and no one minded. In other words, it obviously was inappropriate at a Rath Yatra festival. It was very erotic. However, that doesn't matter. There was a higher principle involved. It was Indian. So if you do something Western, it's bad even if it's good, and if it's Indian, it's good even if it's bad. I saw another Rath Yatra. You see, I actually I didn't tell you about the NSA and my connection with them. Anyway, I investigated ISKCON for the NSA. So I looked on YouTube. Just kidding. Actually, I have no idea what Angela Merkel says on her phone. I actually have no idea that. So there was another Rath Yatra. There was another Rath Yatra in, this was actually in an Eastern European country. And they had this couple, man and woman, young man and young woman, who were Western. They were from that country. And they put on sort of like this yoga dance. They played music and they just kind of like did this dance in which they did different yoga postures. This was on the stage at a Rath Yatra. The girl was wearing clothes that were so tight that it was an excellent lesson in female anatomy, if you wanted one. But this was at the Rath Yatra on the stage where you get this very vivid anatomy lesson, you know, and I think the girl was sincere. I think she was just trying to serve Krishna. But the point is, if it's Indian, in this case yoga, it's good, even if it's bad. And if it's Western, it's bad, even if it's good. That is called chauvinism. That's not spiritual science, that's called chauvinism. And so, in the mode of goodness, what does it look like? I think it looks like following Prabhupada's program, practicing spiritual life, following Prabhupada's teachings, trying to share them with others. In other words, Prabhupada's program. Prabhupada's teachings, Prabhupada's spiritual program, being in Prabhupada's ISKCON, that was another question you raised. And, but just doing it in a way that allows people to add Krishna to their lives without becoming second or third class members of ISKCON. There are hundreds and thousands of stories of sincere devotees being intimidated, bullied, harassed, and rejected because they would not adopt Indian culture. Not Krishna. They accepted Krishna. They accepted Prabhupada. They accepted ISKCON. They accepted everything. They just didn't want to be Indian, and therefore they were bullied and harassed. There are too many stories like that. And we have to open our eyes. If I went to Prabhupada, and I told him, Prabhupada, there are some problems. Your movement is not like it used to be in the sense that it's no longer relevant. It's no longer really growing the way it used to be. If I said that to Prabhupada, I know exactly what he would say to me. He would say, fix it. He would say, fix it. So I'm working within ISKCON. I'm Prabhupada's disciple. I'm unfortunately, as I always say, the last active preacher in ISKCON who was trained by Prabhupada as a Western GBC. So, and somehow by Prabhupada's mercy, we had great results. So, I know what Prabhupada wanted because he kept telling me. And so, I'm trying to understand history. I'm trying to understand social science. I'm trying to understand ISKCON history, Vaishnava history. In fact, we can see that whenever Vaishnavism succeeded, in India, say, or even other places like Indonesia, whenever Vaishnavism succeeded, the Vaishnavas adapted to the culture they were in. They did not sacrifice or compromise their philosophy or their spiritual practices or their institution, but they did give people the opportunity to add Krishna to their life. And if we do that in Germany, really do it, not just say it. Because as we know, social science shows that when people put out a message, whether it's political candidates in a debate or someone else preaching, you know, what you say is a small part of the impression people have. Most of the impression people take is what they really see, like who are you, and what kind of person are you, and just what they call body language and what your life is like. And so we may say to people, oh yes, you can just add Krishna to your life. But I believe that in general, the Hare Krishna movement is shouting, as we say in English, shouting from the rooftops. You have to be Indian if you want to be a serious bhakti yogi. You have to be Indian. Because that's spiritual. And so, wrong message, in my view. The message is, you need spiritual science in your life, not you need to be Indian.